thing. But I appreciate you guys coming today. I really hope that we're going to have some good stuff for you guys to be able to learn and see how you guys can apply this as you guys are getting ready for Christmas. So, as I was saying before, which you guys didn't hear because we found out that it wasn't coming through, my name is Zach, and with me I have Mr. Aaron Adachi, who is on chat with you guys to help you guys out if you have any questions that do come up along the way during the webinar. So by all means, if you guys have anything that comes up, or if you notice anything else that you would like to bring up, feedback, suggestions, or any questions about the subject material, let us know, and we're happy to help you guys. So, this webinar is about getting ready for Christmas and really giving the site some Christmas spirit, but ultimately just to help you guys, so as you are learning how to make changes to your site, you can do so quickly, you know right where to go. We're going to show you guys a few new features that have just recently been added to the website, so you are fully aware of how to do that and utilize that on your websites if you so choose. And before we get started, though, I'm going to pray us in for sure to make sure that we don't have any more technical difficulties and all goes well. So, Father God, we lift this time up to you now, and Lord, I just pray that all goes smoothly with the rest of the webinar, that everything continues to go all right with the technical side of things. And Lord, ultimately, though, that I pray that this time would be a fruitful time for everyone here, that all would be just learning something from this and coming away with this and feeling more confident and capable. Lord, we know that you have equipped us for the ministry of communicating the gospel, Lord, and that's what we're really talking about here, is how we can be effective in the ministry that you've called us for, in whatever capacity we serve at our churches, Lord, that ultimately we can help in some way to reach others, that they, whoever might come through our doors during this holiday season or what have you, Lord, that they really see and experience your Spirit, Lord, that they come to know who you are, that they recognize the saving message of the gospel, Lord. And we lift these things up to you now in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, thank you guys again so much. I'm going to go ahead and get started here, just giving you guys a rundown of what to expect during this webinar. By the way, if this is your first ever Sharefaith Academy webinar, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. And we are excited to have you guys here and be talking about this subject. I don't know about you, but I am ready for Christmas. I know Thanksgiving is just coming up right now, and we're excited for that too, but I'm ready to get into the Christmas stuff. I'm that guy who already has the lights up on my house. I'm excited to get the spirit running and just having a good time for Christmas season. And I'm sure a lot of people here like that too. Some of you are maybe more just like, look, I just want to get through Thanksgiving first before I start worrying about that stuff. But regardless, we want to make sure that we're prepared, we're being proactive, and we're ready to go, so everything is set come Christmas time as we're getting ready for the holiday season. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Aaron should have you guys set up so you can see my screen, and you should see a thing here saying webinar outline. And the first thing we're going to be talking about is why prepare for Christmas. So a lot of churches don't make any changes to their website for different seasonal things, for holidays, and that's fine. I'm not here to criticize that or say that that's a negative, but this is a great opportunity. There's something about Christmas and Easter both. You know, when those holidays arise, we know church attendance often goes up during that time, and this is an opportunity where you can really revamp your site and make some changes in time for those who are coming along. So we'll talk a little bit more about that and give you guys some real good statistics on why that's effective. Also, as I mentioned, we are going to show you guys some of the new website features for Sharefaith websites. So if you guys already have a website through Sharefaith, you should be pleasantly surprised to learn about some of the new things that have recently been added. I know they're things I've been asking about for a long time. I'm glad to see they're there. Then we're going to go through, and I'll actually show you guys some of the stuff with doing a walkthrough on editing some things on the website. If you guys have any questions that come up, if there's anything in particular that you would really like to see on learning how to customize, or maybe some best practices, I'm happy to share with you guys whatever I want. And even before we get there, if you guys just want to pop it in there so Aaron can see that and he can communicate with you, that's fantastic, and I will do my best to answer those as well. So we'll look and see if there's anything that comes up with that too. And also, we will be talking a bit about content-wise, things not just to make your site look nicer, but what to actually put on your site as far as content is concerned that can really help you during the holiday season in more ways than one. And then after that, we will get on to not only are we going to talk a bit about what to do on the website, but we're going to talk about some things just to help you in ways of promoting your website. Because let's face it, if you go through all the work of getting everything set up on there, then we want to make sure that people actually come across and see it. So we're going to talk about some ways to help with that too. And then we're also going to communicate about follow-up strategies, some different ideas that you can take and put into place to help you, so that way not only is it about bringing people to church, but then following up with them and communicating with them. So we'll have a few ideas out there that involve that, so you can stay in touch with those folks afterwards and be able to make sure that they don't just lose track of it after Christmas. And then after that point, we'll have a live Q&A. So at that point, if there are any further questions that I haven't answered yet, and you guys would like to know some more, then by all means, be happy to do that for you at that point. So, I probably said so a few times. Sorry about that. All right, so now as I was saying, let's talk a bit about things that we can expect with, wow, those numbers are not the same as they were. Don't expect a 2,000 to 5,000% growth, but in fact, actually what we're looking at is these should be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. When we look at the average engagement, people coming and attending church, the typical average is 19%. However, studies have shown that church attendance for Christmas increases to 47% in America. So that means out of everyone in America, about 19% say they attend church regularly, and 47% spike to saying they attend church on Christmas. So that's a huge statistic for us to know. And you may witness this in your own churches, or if you're not seeing quite that drastic of a change, then either way, we want to help that to be able to engage people ahead of time, and your website is a fantastic tool for doing so to help increase engagement and attendance during your actual Christmas service. And this is a 2012 survey. Results show that 46% of church attenders said that a church's website was important in picking a church to visit. Now, that's 2012. That's 4 years ago. Since then, we know that the internet and its popularity with all demographics has continued to exponentially increase. So with that, we can safely say that the majority of folks these days are going online to actually find their church before they actually step foot in the door. So with that, that's a very helpful statistic to let us know your church website is going to be instrumental in a lot of ways of communicating and providing a sense of who you are before they actually ever come and meet you in person. So now your website, as I was saying before, it's essentially your communicator in the trenches. People are going to, in many cases, see your website before they see you, before they actually come and meet you in person. So your website should be the first thing with knowing that your website really should be the first thing that you update whenever you're promoting an event to the public. And this is not just Christmas time, but any time. When you are ready to host an event or have a big turnout or have some kind of new ministry you're launching, whatever the case is, your website needs to be your first and foremost thought on communicating that, and then everything else afterwards. The nice thing about your site is it's a way that you can build excitement and get people engaged and interacting as they are doing things. And we'll show some ways that you can get that type of an interaction on your site here in a bit. And, I just want to stress this. Don't take light of this opportunity to engage with what I've heard some people refer to as CEOs, which is short for Christmas, Easter only. People who would normally only attend church on these days, I know, I'm going to, from personal experience, I'll share that I was one of those people for a long time with my family growing up, and eventually it was just something where it sank in after a bit that I needed to take God more seriously and continue from there. So never take light of the opportunity you have. It's not just a performance. It's not just to make people happy or what the case, but it's really an opportunity to share the gospel and to minister to them. So let's, your website can be instrumental in helping you to start that conversation in a lot of ways. Okay. So before we get to that slide, I'll come back to it. It's a very nice slide. You guys will like it. I'm going to go ahead and open up my screen here. So this is a website here. This is featuring the new design that we just released. And I'm going to show you guys some different things here when it comes to getting your site ready for Christmas. Aaron, has anybody by chance asked for anything in particular before I start with the things that I'm going to do in terms of the website? No? Okay. As I said, if there is anything you would really like to see, if we have time, I'll be happy to do that for you guys. In the meantime, Aaron, are they seeing my screen right now? Perfect. Thank you, sir. So you guys should see my screen. I've got it opened up right now. I have the Sidekick control panel on the left-hand side, so I'm in the editing mode of the website. Now, the nice thing about this new template, there's a few things I really like about it. And so, obviously, you have this nice area for the logo, which stays centered on the site, and the pages appear in the navigation on either side, so it is a little bit unique in that respect from the other ones. Also, this does have a full screen slider, like rotating banner, so you can put in a full screen image, something that maybe you would normally think of as a background design, and you can see how this is being used sort of in that similar manner, where we have a background image and then we have text over the front of it. Now, this is really cool. What I love to do with these kinds of things, and I don't know if you've ever played with this yourself, you may not realize, but this text right here, it says Jesus, our present, our future, our eternity. This is actually an image. It's a transparent image that we have overlaid over the top. And what we do is we have the background image set. So from here we just have, say, a standard background selected. And you can go through. There is an image library, as you probably have seen before if you've edited your site, where you can find perhaps some stock photos that work for it. You can also upload your own images. So this is great if you're looking for designs. Definitely don't forget to check out the Sharefaith library, because there's so many backgrounds and PowerPoints and different resources there. We're talking thousands that you can go into and pull from, so you can find anything you need. And of course, there is definitely no shortage of Christmas materials that you can locate. So if I go into my library, now this is really cool. These are a couple of new designs we just put out. Let's say I want to put in this Home for the Holidays image, and this is actually the title slide from the PowerPoint, but say if we're doing a sermon series that's using these graphics, or if we just really like the message that's on the front of it and we'd like to have that be our greeter message, we could certainly do so. So I'll just select this and add it as the background, and then I'll save my screen here. So now I've got this really cool, fun Christmas lights, festive background, and of course, and you can do the same thing. So if you want to have alternating images to what's to appear here on the slider, you can certainly do so. Now this is nice when you do have a banner. On one hand, you can kind of keep your standard welcome image as one of the options for this. So if you don't want to go through and get rid of everything that you've got on the site now to turn it all into Christmas, you certainly don't have to do so. But like I say, we're just trying to get things ready so it does have more of a Christmas feel to it. And when I go back here, now the one thing is we still have this on the front of it, which is kind of making it hard to read the rest of it, so we don't want that anymore. So now I'm going to go in and edit this. Oh, if I can get my edit, there we go. So I'll go and edit this, and as I said, this is just an image, so it's very simple to just delete it and get it off there, and then I can save it. So I don't need to have any content there if I don't want to, and then you can see now it just shows the clear image of the Home for the Holidays, celebrate with a family message. So the cool thing about this too, and this is something that I do using that format, let's say you want to do something where, especially if you're using a parallax website, you would like to have, say, a welcome or greeting message, or maybe like what we see with the Jesus, our future, our eternity, our hope. If you want to have that on the front end and have like a nice background that moves with the rest of the website, like the parallax designs do, then this is how you would do it. You would insert this as a transparent image. And one of the cool things is, let's say you do see an image on Sharefaith, maybe a PowerPoint that has a really nice title that you would like to utilize, but you maybe want to use it on a different background, or you want to separate it from the background. You can download the Photoshop file. It has everything layered out, so you can actually pull the title off of the background that way and be able to have kind of a multi-layer setup on your website. It'd be very easy to do, because you can just take the blank background from the PowerPoint and then put the title layer, save that as its own image in Photoshop, and put it on there. So if you're familiar with Photoshop and know how to do that, you're probably aware how to do that. Otherwise, it's actually quite simple, and we can give you guys some pointers on that here in our follow-up resources, so you can see some examples of things like that done. And then continuing on, obviously we have our other content that appears on our homepage here. Now, you don't like I say, you don't have to go all out. It doesn't have to be something where it's a complete revamping, because I don't want to scare people who maybe don't want to do a major change to their website. But if you are looking to kind of gussy it up a little bit, I'll use that term, gussy it up. I haven't heard that one in a while. And want to do some changes, you can do even simple things. Like if I go in to edit this here, you can actually find like divider images. Like you could get like a cool design with some garland or something to that effect, and then just put it in here as like a transparent image and have it as a divider that appears above and below. Or you can even add different vectors and shapes. You can go through Sharefaith. We have, like I said, we've got all the designs that have the Photoshop files. There's even some nice clip art and stuff that are vector files that you can go through and pull to have some different variety in there. And there's all kinds of resources out there where you can find these images and be able to pull them in. Now, apart from your website's homepage, you definitely want to have it set up so you've got information listed for your Christmas services. So that could be on your events page. This is just pulling in our calendar from Google. So if you want to do that, you can have that there. I always recommend, always, for anything major like this, a Christmas service, Christmas Eve service, any type of special Christmas ministries that you're promoting or doing anything like that with, definitely make a post about it on your website that can be on a blog page. And maybe you don't have it per se on a page visible from here. I would recommend doing that, but if you don't have that set up and don't want to have to maintain that whole thing, that's perfectly fine. But you can go into the content section here and we can add a new blog post right from within here. And the cool thing is, of course, too, if you are a complete member, this will come through on your app as well. So it'll notify people, give them more information about what's going on with your Christmas services. So don't forget to take advantage of that opportunity. Another great thing as far as content goes in relation to blog posts is doing something like a Christmas devotional. You can do anything. You could do like a 12 Days of Christmas. You could do an Advent devotional if you're a church that takes time to recognize Advent leading up to Christmas, anything of that nature. Or you could even just have perhaps special Christmas and Thanksgiving at this time anyway, themed blog posts leading up to the actual holidays. And that's a way where people come to it, they can see, okay, great, this church is already thinking about Christmas, they've got some ideas going, they can be engaged and start learning, and it's a way that they can kind of see another side of the church other than just the building itself or the overall organization, but the pastor has an opportunity to share his thoughts. They can kind of get a better idea of the pastor's heart behind that, or anybody for that matter who's involved in handling that material for your site. They can get a more personalized approach and feel to the website by having some type of a devotional or blog post on it. So that's something where maybe if you haven't thought about that, you can communicate that with your pastoral team and ask if someone would be willing to do something like that, because that's going to help, obviously, people who come to the site to see that information on a consider a more practical sense. Maybe it could even help with search engine ranking when people are looking for Christmas ideas or services to attend in their area. That blog post can also rank not just your site itself on Google and stuff like that. So there are ways that you can utilize that resource to help you more. And like I said, too, that all comes through into your mobile app, so it's a fantastic way to provide content and engage people through that platform as well if you have that. So, Aaron, before I go on, anybody asking stuff? No? Okay, cool. Glad. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody if anybody does have any questions. So, a cool new feature I want to show you guys now. I'll go into some of the new features that are on the websites at this time. One of them is the ability to now have a footer on your website. This was added a little while ago, but since the last Churchwide's websites webinar, we didn't have that feature available yet. So just to show you guys how that's available, if you guys haven't seen this yet or didn't know that it was a feature, all you have to do is, if you look here on the left-hand side where your additional pages are, essentially the pages that aren't anywhere within your menu on the site, you can make any of these into a footer. It doesn't matter what you title it. You can see the examples we have here, just footer and footer example. And there's a little icon now that appears on the side with a little shaded in bottom of a page. And so that is your footer icon. So by clicking on that, it automatically changes to that as the new footer, and this will be a site-wide footer. So it appears on every single page on the website. And so this is nice. You have total freedom to be able to adjust it. It's easy to edit. It's just like editing any other page on your website. So you have these content blocks where you can put materials into. And then, as I said, once it's on there, it is a site-wide footer, so you don't have to worry about putting it onto each and every single web page. I know that was something that people have been asking about for a long time now with Sharefaith websites, and I personally was really excited to see that too as an option. And you can see it's a very simple and straightforward approach to doing that on your website. Now, apart from the footer, perhaps one of the biggest areas where we've made some major changes to just recently, in fact, this week or last week, it was when we first launched it, are in the sermons. So if we go to the sermons playlist on this website, first of all, you'll see up here on the top right hand, there's now the option for Facebook sharing. And this is one of the most this is one of those things where for a long time we were like, yes, this needs to happen, and it all lined up to where we finally got it implemented on the websites. So the great thing about this is, number one, people who come to your website and listen to sermons now can freely and easily share your sermons on your webpage, and these can be one of the most instrumental things that you have when it comes to, oops, I'm not signing Facebook on this one. That's fine. My boss will be happy. I'm not playing on Facebook during the day. But so you can go in and be able to share it, and so it'll, as long as you are signed into Facebook, it'll pop up, and from there you have the option if you want to add anything else on top of it. It's just like sharing other content over Facebook, and it'll include a description and the image from the sermon. That's another thing that was recently added, is the ability to set a featured image for each individual sermon. So if I edit this one, I think it's loading right now. There we go. So if I edit the sermon, you'll see most everything looks pretty much the same here, where I put my description in, how I can specify preacher and series and time that the sermon was preached on. And now we have the ability where it says set image right here. And so by clicking on that, you can upload or utilize an image for your sermon graphics. Either that could be a sermon graphic. Some folks may put an image of the pastor preaching, if it's a guest pastor, or if that's just something that you would rather have. Whatever it might be, you can upload your own image, and it will automatically format it and fit it into the area for you, so you don't have to worry about, thinking about what size and everything. It'll adjust all that on your end. And then once it's done, you can save it, and it'll keep that image. So that will simply appear for when you are sharing content, and of course here on the playlist as you can see it now, just so that's something that people can recognize and tie into the sermon, provides a visual for that. And the sharing is a great thing too, because also for you as administrators of the church, if you are an administrator for your church's Facebook page, when you share it, you have the opportunity to choose to share it as one of the pages you manage. So then that being the case, that's an easy way that the church can share their own sermons so that everybody can see it who likes the church's page on Facebook, or even in a group as well, however you do your Facebook setup, if you use groups or pages, either way. And then people can go on to it, and then the nice thing about it is it takes them right back here to your website to be able to view the sermon. So that helps boost your traffic to your site. That'll in turn help with some other areas such as SEO, so people can find you more easily when they're searching. And of course, it takes them back to where they can also find other content that you have on your site, and it engages your members more effectively. So this is such a cool tool that I'm so glad that we have now, that I think really helps make a difference for people when it comes to sharing content. And I think down the road they're still working on some other things for this, but this is just the beginning of offering more with social media sharing and opening that door for people. And I know that's something that, for example, my personal experience, I'll see a lot of times where our sermons are shared on Facebook, but they're through, like, say, SoundCloud or something like that, or maybe YouTube, which is fine. It's not that there's any problem with that, but again, we're losing that ability to take that traffic and bring it back to our own site. So this is a major thing that helps the site, boosts the organic SEO behind it, and of course brings it back to where your members know about it and brings them to where they can see your church's website to find more information. So that's just a really cool thing that I'm excited about right now is too. So apart from this, getting back to where we were discussing with getting the website ready for Christmas, you'll notice another really cool thing about this template in particular is the ability to set a header image, like you see here with the Bible open up. So you can actually specify an image that all it serves for is essentially as another aspect to the background, so it can accent it. This is really cool. I think this is one of the more useful things you'll run across when you're getting stuff ready for Christmas, is having the ability to still have a nice kind of more neutral background where all your content rests on, so it's easy to read. But then here you can actually specify a completely different image to serve as a way of, holiday aspects. So let's see if I go ahead and put this in here. Then we can see like some Christmas lights appearing here at the top and a little bit of writing showing there, but I could even take like the blank background from that set and be able to use this if I wanted to capture this look still. So you can play with this and do different images to see what fits your needs. And of course, I'm using Sharefaith designs, but you can always utilize your own as well. For example, let me try this one here of the folks raising their hands. So that's kind of nice because you just see the lights and stuff at the top. And you can do all sorts of different things so that you have different images for each page if you want to. You could certainly keep it consistent and have the same image that goes across, but the nice thing is you could make it actually based on whatever they're looking at now. So that's why with Sunday teaching, there was a Bible open up, or you could have perhaps an image of the pastor speaking, or maybe the congregation on a Sunday service. And so here for the holidays, you can dress this up and be able to incorporate more Christmas decorations and have a more holiday approach to it. And this can all be reverted later when you're all said and done with everything. But the nice thing is, once you make your changes, it's super quick and easy. You can see how fast I'm doing these things. And if I want to change my design completely, I can do so at any time. Under the design section, I can pick a new theme. So if I want to, or I'm sorry, not the theme. Under settings. There we go, sorry. Under settings, I can go here into the templates and be able to modify these at any time. So if you guys like the one that I'm working on right now and you haven't jumped over to it, you can do so whenever you want. And if you decide later on to change your mind again, you can switch back. That's one of the major things about Sharefaith is we have that ability where you can change your site's design completely to something different whenever you feel like it. I can switch to this parallax one if I want to. And then it goes through and brings everything over into a new template. And you can see this is quite different with the way the logo placement is, the different pages that are on here. And so I might need to go back through and make some changes here. But you can see, it just took me one click. And if I don't like this and I want to go back, simply go click on this one. And then it'll take me back to what I already had before. So very painless process to go through. I know some people have asked us about this because it can be a little hesitant, especially with a major change, and I completely understand that, and I even say that's for the best. Do not jump in and say like, hey, it's a different season, I'm going to go through and completely redo the website every single time. But it's nice for around the holidays, around special events to do something like this. And maybe, after you've had your website a certain way for so long, you're just ready to make a change. You don't want to do that too frequently to where people kind of like lose track of how to navigate it or understand what's the best way to go through it or even recognize it. Some churches I've seen do completely massive rehauls, usually for the better, especially when you're coming from another system over. But then if you want to do that, that's a very simple process to do. Whenever I'm going through and doing major changes to my site, I like to do different things with Photoshop and try and experiment some different images and how they're layered and do different effects. But even then, doing all of that, I find in most cases I only spend about 2 to 3 hours working on the website, so I can get it all done in one night, and it's good for the next several months as far as appearances go before I want to maybe come back to it and look at it again. So it's very easy to work with. Now, the other thing I was going to show you real quick and relates to sermons, and it's not so much a design thing, but this is another new feature that you may or may not have noticed recently coming through the dashboard. If we go back to the actual advanced dashboard settings here, well, there is a statistics option now available. And the great thing about this is not only, of course, can we see how many visitors you're getting, so this pulls in a lot of analytics data for us, so it's very easy to track different things, traffic coming to the site, but we've now added the option to where you can actually track downloads and listens, essentially, to your podcasts, podcasts to your sermons on your website, and you can see which ones are the most popular and see how that's affected. So all of that just helps you guys to be able to understand what works best with your service, because you can see like, hey, if this sermon got a lot of attention, did we do anything special with it? Did we do anything special to drive traffic to our website? And you can kind of find some different things that help you understand what works best at communicating what you are actually investing in that is paying out for you, that people are coming and seeing and being a part of, versus that which is not. So having these statistics is useful, and we're doing more with this. This is just recently implemented, but we're actually in the process of doing some major things with this to revamp it and bring everything up so where you have the most relevant information that you need as a church to be able to look into. All right, well, apart from that, let me go back into this. So we've talked about this. Before I leave the website, I just want to double check, Aaron, is everybody good? Anybody coming through and asking about wanting to see anything in particular, or are we good?
There is a question about...
Okay.
Jared is asking if within the sermon player, it doesn't show the full size of the series image. So is there a specific size for the sermon theme image that you need to have?
Okay, well, yeah, and so Jared is asking about the sermon featured image when you are putting a specific image to an individual sermon, and you don't need to worry about that. It will set it to a square image, and the system actually formats it to make it fit to where it needs to go, so you don't have to worry ahead of time about the size. Of course, I mean, if you are working with like an extremely large image, something that's taken with a professional quality camera, or just a very high resolution design for any reason, you probably want to shrink that down to stay within the confines of 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080. Since that's what most monitors are running off of, you'll never need anything larger unless somebody goes into 4K and stuff, which is coming up. But for the most part, though, even images at that size should be fine, but I would stay probably, that's my general guideline, is around that, and it's going to be obviously shrunk way down smaller than that. So as much as doing anything ahead of time, I would just make sure it's not a massive image file. Apart from that, though, you don't need to worry. It'll automatically format it for you, so you don't have to have a special size and DPI and all of that stuff. We do that part for you on our end. So, all right? Okay, well, if that's it, or... Okay, more questions coming in.
Is there a Facebook share available all over the website, or just for the sermons?
At this time, it's just for the website. I think they are actually looking at implementing that for other areas too. Don't quote me on that, but I believe I overheard that from our developers meeting. And there are some different things that are coming along the lines for social sharing. So you also, of course, have the option to turn that off. Now that you say that, I wanted to make sure I made that point as well. If it is something that you don't want to utilize for any reason, or maybe if you aren't using Facebook, then for whatever reason as well, and you don't really care about that, you can certainly turn it off so it's not on your site. But I think it is a really great tool, and it just lets people, in a way, kind of spread the word about your church for you. So that's a nice feature. So Aaron had someone who asked if there's a way to use Facebook Live on the sermon page. I'll put it this way. If you have the ability to embed a stream, then you can use it on your website. I do not believe that is capable of Facebook Live. I'm pretty sure Facebook Live only allows you to be able to broadcast through Facebook, and that's why it's a free platform, and why they're pushing it so heavily as a means of, basically it drives traffic back to Facebook, and they like it that way. So at this time, I'm not aware of any method, and I don't think there is any method to be able to have Facebook Live anywhere outside of Facebook. Now, I do know, on a flip side, though, just to made me think about it, there are companies out there that do integrate with Facebook Live. If you have like a live streaming service that offers that, so that way you can broadcast through multiple platforms. You can have their stream embedded on your site and also connect it to your Facebook page, so it broadcasts through Facebook Live there as well. In fact, our partners at Boxcast are right now in beta testing for that feature, and we're hoping to try that out for them pretty soon too. But so that is something that could be possible so that way you can have streams on both platforms at once, and you can look into that through our website at sharefaith.com if you'd be interested in learning more. So. Okay, cool. Well, so then if that's all the questions on this so far, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next part. And so talking about promotion of the website, making sure that people know how to get to it and know about these different things once you've got it all ready to go. So, all right, so promoting your website And the purpose of that being to promote the church, make sure people know about the website so they can know about your church. So first of all, like we're already talking about right now, is using social media. So if you guys are using any social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anything like that, you can always and should always be incorporating links back to your site. So people, if you are posting anything about events that are happening, devotional, any changes that are taking place, definitely always great to have links back to your site. Of course, there could be times when that's not appropriate, and you would discern when that is. But for the most part, you can almost always utilize your social media and whatever posts you're doing to go back to your website as well. Another great idea, and this is just a great idea in general. We're not even, some of these things I just thought, hey, like these are fantastic things to do during Christmas anyway, whether or not it's even promoting your website. But another option is doing something to host a fundraiser. So by hosting any type of a charitable event, fundraiser for missions, charities, other ministries, maybe even ministries within your church, and doing something like that, and then having the opportunity for people to come to the site in order to give online. So if you have Sharefaith Giving or any type of giving platform that you're using right now, you can create a fund for that and then be able to offer the people, and again, you can use your other channels to promote that and bring people to your website, so that way they can go on there and be able to make a donation. But it's a great way to spread awareness for a good cause, and of course let people know that your church is being actively involved in your community in doing something, and ultimately, you know, the main thing is glorifying God for it, and hoping to see that people will see that light and come through and using that, using whatever channels, your website, whatever you have, to be able to let people know about that. As I mentioned before, something like a devotional for Christmas. Now, you could also have the pastor create, say, an ongoing study that people are involved in. The nice thing about doing an ongoing one and kind of setting it up to be in multiple parts, or saying like multiple days, is that you're encouraging people to keep coming back afterwards. So they come and they read the first one, and then at that point saying, we'll have the new one up tomorrow, or we'll have the new one up next week, or however often you plan to commit to doing something like that. And this could be something you do year-round. It doesn't have to just be for Christmas, but again, to build that anticipation for Christmas and getting people excited is a fantastic way to do something where the pastor is creating something. And this is an opportunity where if the pastor hasn't up to this point, you can get them involved on contributing content to the site as well. And it's just going to help you on all fronts doing that. And then this is a biggie too. If you guys might have caught our last webinar, we talked about church email newsletters, and definitely make sure to always incorporate links to your website and anything else that you communicate through in your church email newsletter. So this is a great time. You'll see a lot, for example, in Sharefaith magazine, where we'll have blog posts talking about whatever's going on with, like, say, administrative stuff or spiritual matters or anything like that that we're writing on. We always make sure there's a link back to the articles, so they don't have to sit there and read the entire email. They can just come back and see it on the site. And of course, you guys get to check out the other cool content that we have on there as well. So that's something the church can definitely utilize. Make sure that you are if your pastor is doing a blog post or a special series, then you let people know in your newsletter, hey, this is going on right now, and here's how you can go to go read more about this and stay in touch with what's happening. And same for events, anything else that you're doing on your website, make sure to mention in your church email newsletter as well. And last but not least on this way, setting up some evites. Evites might seem kind of old school almost now at this day and age, but the nice thing about them is that you are, in a sense, allowing others to interact with your site, to be able to contact people that they would like to invite to their church. So this is a great evangelistic tool, in a sense, to be able to have something come from a friend to another person to invite them to their church, or a family member, or even just a fun thing that your church can do to engage and interact with. And it's actually not as hard to set up as you might think. There's lots of services out there that use evites, or you could even set up a contact form on your site where you can plug in the details, and the church would then basically send out an invitation that can include whatever is preloaded onto it, so that they can get an invitation to church that way. So there are cool ways to do that, and again, that just adds a more personal feel to it. And we all know that the best way, when it comes down to it, of getting folks through the door, apart from being found online, is really actually having someone invite someone to church personally. So it opens up the door for that. So that's something that I would definitely look into, and you can see different ways to connect that to your site so people can easily get to where they need to go to do something of that manner. And if you guys have any other ideas, I'm totally open to listening to them. I love hearing these kinds of things, and that's one of the best things about the webinar, is the ability to chat and interact with each other during it. So if anybody has any other suggestions on how to promote, or a cool story even, if you don't mind typing it out, by all means, we'd love to hear that. All right, and then last but certainly not least, and I would say even most important, is not forgetting to follow up with folks. So when somebody comes through the door, we all know this story, and this is the thing. We know the statistics, right? We were just looking at them. Throughout the year, the average attendance is only 19% of Americans who actually go to church. It spikes to 47% on Christmas, but then we know it's going to dip way back down, and we're going to see a lot of those people never come back. But there are going to be those people who will come back, who will stick around and be a part of the church, and the opportunities are there to reach out to them and minister to them, regardless of whether or not you're seeing them every Sunday after that. So following up is a huge thing, and by doing this, by doing a Christmas service, I think it's always important to have a means where you let people know that if they would like to be contacted, there's a way that they can give information to do so. Typically you would ask for just their name, their phone number maybe, their email address, and sometimes their mailing address if your church does do any type of physical mailers. But you just want to ask for the information that you're actually going to use. I've looked through and seen where there have been cases that, if a church takes down that info, number one, you got to make sure you do use it. You don't just squander it, because they're actually showing interest that they would like to learn more about potentially being a part of the church. And number two, like people, if somebody gives you their phone number, that does not mean that they want you to come up and knock on their door and show up in person. So respect that kind of stuff and be able to use the resources that they give you to be able to reach out to them. Also, don't forget it as an opportunity to invite to future events. So you can already let people know after the Christmas service, like, hey, thank you so much for coming. We're starting a new series, getting ready for the new year, or we are having this special event for New Year's coming up as well, or whatever the case may be, making sure that you're inviting people back. Like, let them know, like, they're welcome. Let them know that there's a sense of belonging that they can have here, that there's opportunities that they have to learn more and grow in Christ and have fellowship. Any of that stuff, it's huge. I know for me, when I first went back to church, one of the biggest things that God used in that church for me was that someone reached out to me right afterwards and invited me to a Bible study. And that was something that I just hadn't experienced at a church before. And I thought, I do want to learn more, and I want to grow, and I wanted to be a part of that. So that was something that we can definitely utilize when in these Christmas times too. Make sure that whatever follow-up you're doing is personalized. Don't send something robotic or just something generic. Thanks for coming, happy holidays. Like, that's not going to do anything. Make sure whatever you're doing, you have a real personalized follow-up to it. There's a person behind that, a warmth behind it, that people feel like you do care and you genuinely, are praying for them and caring for them and want them to be a part of that ministry. And also, this is, again, this is a huge thing, staying consistent in your outreach. Just because somebody comes and they don't respond the first time that you send something, an email or make a phone call or whatever it might be, then that doesn't mean that that's the only opportunity you'll ever have to reach out to them. Doesn't mean that you pester them. Don't turn into a salesperson and try to call them every day and all that. But recognize a good amount of times that would be to reach out. I'd say in most cases, when you're trying to reach somebody, if they don't respond the first time, give it at least 3 tries overall before you're ready to call it quits on someone, unless you just realize you're hitting a wall there, or they've already told you that they don't want to be contacted again. But just be consistent. Pick a time that makes it so you're not just nagging them constantly, but maybe on a weekly basis try to reach out. if you don't see them. So just something like that where there's an active effort that you're putting forth in trying to reach someone and still engage them. And you can assign either somebody who's on the administration, a secretary, or administrator of the church, or even the pastor if they feel up to it. To reach out. So depending on however you're set up, to have something like that in place to follow up with people, especially after this time. So that's all I have for you guys today. I really do appreciate you coming. I hope there's been some good stuff you guys saw here, some good demonstration of the websites, some good thoughts and feedback on what to do. If you guys do have any questions at this time that are coming up, I see Aaron is communicating with some folks on chat. If anything else is coming up that you guys would like to know about that I can answer live for you, we'll spend a few minutes here to do that to my best of my ability. So.
Could you go over Facebook sharing?
Oh, so Aaron said someone's asking about going over Facebook sharing. So let me bop out of this real quick and go back to the website. So here at the website, if I go to the Facebook sharing is really set up for the sermons right now. And so if you go down here, you'll notice on the sermon player, to the top right, there is the button for Facebook sharing. Now that's a new thing that we just implemented and integrated with Facebook's API. So if you are signed in, when you click on share, it'll then pop up for you to be able to sign into your account if you're not. But when you are, which I don't have my Facebook account on this computer, but when you are, you can simply go in, and then at that point, you can write a message above it. It'll include a description of what it is, along with that featured image that you have, if there is one. And you can include a message with it to say what it is exactly that you're sharing. So if you're sharing for the sake of your friends and family seeing it, you want to say, hey, this is a really inspiring message, and I just wanted to make sure that other people were able to know about this, and this could really help someone. Or if you're a church administrator and you want to be able to more easily share your sermons to your social media, then you can log into your page or to your account that manages the Facebook page. And then when you go to share it, there will be a drop-down option where you can actually select to share it. You can change it from your timeline to a page or a group, however your church does it. I know some churches use pages, some churches use groups. Either way, you can share it into that section and then be able to have others who like it or follow that to be able to see it as well. And so I hope that clarifies it. Oh, I might have some audio.
There's also another question on eVites. What are they and how can you get them or use them?
Okay, so someone's asking about eVite. So eVite is just a term that's used and essentially means it's like an email. But instead what it is, it's somebody who is creating it for the purpose of sending some kind of content to someone else. So an example of like what I'm talking about for churches, let's say you have a contact form. You could use the contact form plugin that's on your website, or you could even look at, there are services that are just set up for eVites themselves too that you can look into. But the nice thing about the contact form one, once you get it set up, you can actually go through, type in all the wording that you want the message to say within the mail body, and have it set so people can kind of fill in the blanks. So you can say dear and have it go to their friend's name, and then say so-and-so would like to invite you to our Christmas Eve service coming up at this time on this day, and we would hope that you guys can get the opportunity to be a part of it. We can see you guys there. So you can word it and express it in a way that feels warm and welcoming, but also has a personal touch to it by it being from their friend. And you can set it up to where it can then go to that person's email, but if they respond to it, it can come back to the church. So there's all kinds of ways you can do this, and I've seen some different examples online. I've set them up for my church before myself, and we've seen a few cases where people have used them. Even though we're a pretty small church, it's been nice to see that. So I think Christmas is a great time where that's just an appropriate thing that fits really well with it, and it's nice because it engages the church too. People can send them to themselves if they want to, or send them to friends within church already, and it's kind of just a fun thing the church can do. But the ultimate thing is that you can tell people like, hey, this is a great way if you have not been sure how to invite that person to church, but you would like to extend that invitation to them. We've already got a message laid out for you, and you guys can simply just hop on there, put in their details and your details that we ask for, and then send it, and we will send the message to them. So that's just another way of doing it that I've seen some people use, and It's been done a lot in the past, and some people might suggest that they think it's, you can think whatever of it. If you don't have a high opinion of it, then by all means don't use it. But for other people, I think there are lots of people out there who enjoy those kind of things and think they're fun. One you could look at that's more of a friend-to-friend thing and just as a fun thing is like Jib Jab and some of those companies out there that do animations and stuff with it. But you could look out there and see, if you type in Evites on searches and see what's out there. If you don't want to use the contact form, then that works too. So that's kind of a long explanation, but hopefully that answers the question for you guys. Okay, great. I think that's all the questions. So I hope this is a good time. I thank you guys so much for coming. I'm getting excited for Christmas. I just got to say, I'm excited. I know I'm ready. I'm anxious for turkey. I'm anxious for a good old tryptophan coma, sitting on the couch watching the football game this Thanksgiving. But as soon as that's over, man, I am out there getting the rest of my decorations up and ready to go and getting the church website ready to go too. So hopefully you guys got some good information from this. You saw some cool things that you can do and some ideas in your head as far as what you can do to help promote things and get the excitement going. If anything else does come up, we'll be here till noon unless we're already past that marker. I can't see my clock. But anyways, we'll be here just to answer questions for the last few minutes. And if anything else does come, if you guys have a specific question about if you already have a Sharefaith website or would like to learn more about Sharefaith websites, check out sharefaith.com, and you can go to support.sharefaith.com to reach our team for any other questions that you might have. So thank you guys again so much. I'm going to pray before we go and let you guys go. Father God, I thank you for this time. I thank you for this upcoming season that we use to celebrate the birth of our Savior. God, let us not lose sight of the reason for this season. And Lord, ultimately, let us use our gifts and experience to be able to share that message with others, Lord. I pray that you would give us insight and wisdom as to how to go about it, that you would give us vision and purpose in the way that we strategize that our communication, the way that we talk to people within our community, the ways that we reach them on all levels, Lord. I pray that for everyone here serving in their local communities, Lord, and for even me and the guys here at the office, Lord, all the stuff that we do within our churches here in our local community. Lord, we just ask that you would be glorified through this time, that we celebrate for the right reasons. We thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you again, guys, so much. Appreciate you all that you do, and really just, I know how important this is for the church and what it means to be able to communicate and reach others. So we just ask that, I pray to the Lord that this is the stuff that helps you guys to get that much further in being successful in doing that. So thank you guys again so much. We love you guys and appreciate you. You have a great day. God bless you guys.